Everybody thinks that if you start a prop firm, you're instantly going to make millions of dollars. You've probably seen the comments, these prop firm owners are making millions. Or the classic, they're all driving Lambos off the losses of traders. But here's the truth. Running a prop firm is not the get-rich-quick scheme that many people think that it is. In fact, most prop firms don't even make it past their first year. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how this business model works, breaking down the real numbers, the costs that nobody shows you, and why it's not as simple as just collecting challenge fees and cashing out. I'll walk you through everything from payout ratios, tech fees, broker fees, affiliate commissions, all the way to the razor-thin margins that explains why so many prop firms have gone out of business in just the last couple of years. So if you've ever thought about starting your own prop firm, or if you've just wondered how these companies actually operate, this video is for you. Let's break it down. Okay, so here we are, the prop firm cost structure breakdown. I want to go through all of these numbers with you rather than just having some flashy editing and me talking. I want to show you the actual numbers between a small prop firm, a medium prop firm, and a large, massive prop firm, and how things change in terms of their fees, and at the end of the day, how much a prop firm owner is actually going to make. So in terms of revenue, we have 1 million, 10 million, and $100 million. Some of the largest prop firms in the world have processed over $100 million. And so based on those payout ratios, we'll be able to estimate how much they've actually done in revenue. In terms of an AOV, the average order value, it's pretty common across the industry to be right around the $350 mark. Now, this is going to vary a little bit from each firm, but you know, those 100K accounts, 200K accounts are on the higher end. And then you have the lower accounts, the 10Ks, the 25Ks, the 50K. So in terms of an average order value, we're going to use $350 across the board. So the number of accounts is the next thing that we'll need to figure out. So if there's $1 million in revenue and it's $350, we've got 2,857 accounts if you have a $1 million revenue prop firm. For $10 million, that's going to be 10x. So that's going to be literally 28,571, and that will be 285,714 accounts. This is really important because this is going to dictate some of the broker fees that a prop firm is going to have to pay, tech fees as well, payment processing fees, that sort of thing. In fact, we could actually go over to payment processing fees right away. This is something that, again, many people don't think. Unfortunately, you have chargebacks is something that, traders, not very nice traders will file, unless of course the prop firm did something wrong. There's fees related to that. Just putting in your credit card, there's a fee. We're going to use 1% because that's a pretty good estimate in terms of how much a prop firm will pay. Again, it will vary a little bit, but we're looking at the broad general overview. So we're going to take $1 million, we're going to multiply that by 1%. So that's $10,000 in payment processing fees for the small prop firm, the medium, and then $1 million in payment processing fees for the large prop firm, which is pretty crazy. Okay, before we get to payouts, I want to look at broker fees. Now, broker fees are going to vary very, very drastically depending on the prop firm. The larger the prop firm, the lower the per account fee because they have the law of large numbers, they have scale. So each account is going to be smaller. And it also depends on what platform you're using. So for example, CTrader is a much more expensive platform than say DX Trade, which is a more affordable platform. So it's hard to estimate exactly how much the fees are going to be because of these reasons. But we're going to be able to have a broad, general, pretty solid guess, even with all of these variables. One thing to keep in mind is the reason that many prop firms have a 30-day inactivity rule is that many prop firms are charged every 30 days that they have an account open. So if you're just buying a challenge and holding it for 12 months without trading it, every month the prop firm still has to pay to keep that account open, which is why there's a 30-day inactivity rule. Okay, so it's not just about the broker fee, it's not just about how many accounts there are, it's how long those accounts are being open for. So again, this is going to vary widely. But for a small prop firm, I think it's safe to estimate that we're, again, I like to be on the higher side of things to make sure that, we're not underestimating things. $30 per account is a fair estimate because accounts will be held for several months and it will average out. Sometimes it'll be cheaper if it's a DX Trade account. Other times, if it's CTrader and it's held for many months, it will be on the higher end. So in order to calculate that, we have two 4,857 accounts times $30 equals $85,714 in fees. For this one, instead of $30, again, we have that scale. So we're going to drop it down to, let's do $20. I think that's a fair estimate. $571,000. So you can already see how the costs are rising quite quickly. And here we did $20. So here I want us to put $10 because again, you're going to reach that scale where the cost will be less, but obviously the real number will still be massive. Next, I want to talk about payouts because payouts are obviously, a very hot topic, very important to discuss in terms of a prop firm's profitability, how much prop firm owners are actually making. Payouts are a huge thing. Now, I don't want to say they vary widely across firms in terms of payout ratios, which means payouts relative to revenue, but it does vary quite a bit depending on the model, okay? For the sake of this video, I want to focus on the two-step model because that's what many traders are familiar with. In terms of a two-step model, it is not uncommon to see payout ratios at 50% of revenue or higher. Of course, it depends what price a prop firm is selling the challenge for. However, 50% is a good average. Oftentimes, I've spoken with people in the industry with that 100-to-1 leverage, it can actually get even higher than that. So we're going to use 50% payout ratio for revenue. This is just assuming that these are two-step accounts. So payouts is going to equal 50%. Okay, so that's 500,000, that's 5 million, and that's $50 million in payouts. And that's how you can already see some of the largest prop firms in the world, how they've already processed, 50, 75, $100 million plus in payouts. Because yes, they have a ton of revenue, but that payout ratio is quite high. So in terms of tech fees, this is going to be another highly variable cost. If a prop firm has in-house tech fees, that's going to vary versus using a white label versus using, a third-party tech provider. So it's going to vary very, very widely. Again, there's going to be scale that will be hit here. So the per account cost will be less on the larger firm than it is for the smaller firm. But one thing that's important to keep in mind is that the larger the company, okay, if you have in-house tech, which is more common for some of those larger firms, you're going to have more staff. You're going to have more development costs. So it sort of balances out in the end. But again, these are specifically tech fees for, issuing accounts. We're not talking about other tech fees of, using, marketing platforms, that sort of thing. This is literally just the tech fees for providing your dashboard, sending out the accounts, sending out the emails. And so what we're going to do is we're going to lower it slightly as we hit scale. So on the $1 million revenue, we're going to use 20% for this guy here. We're going to use 15% for this guy. And then we'll use 10% over here. Boom. Okay, so now we have the COGS, the cost of goods sold. There's still tons of other fees that we're going to break down next, but here we're going to be able to estimate our gross profit. So again, gross is before you take into account, staff fees, marketing fees, even affiliate commissions, taxes. So it might look great, the gross profit, but even as we start to break down the further costs, you're going to see, if you haven't already realized, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. There's a lot that goes into running a prop firm. There's a lot that goes into, providing a world-class service. So your gross profit, we start with $1 million. We spend $500,000 in paying out our traders. We spend another $85,000 in providing those accounts. Our tech fees on making sure everything runs smoothly is another $200K, and we lose another $10K there. So you can see here, we start with $1 million, and we're already down to $204,000. If we do the exact same here on the $10 million prop firm, we're left with 28%. So you can see here, the margin does increase ever so slightly. But that's going to make a big difference down here. Okay, 2.8 million, and then we're left with $36 million. Marketing fees is another massive expense for prop firms. It's going to vary widely. If you want to know how much prop firms are spending on marketing, it's tough to estimate, but you can go on, Google Ad Library, the Meta Ad Library. You can see which prop firms are targeting which countries, what kind of ads they're running. It's not uncommon to see marketing costs of at least 20% of revenue, at least, which again is, a really high, it's a really high cost, but in order to get word out, there's a couple of approaches. You could spend money on marketing, or you could do what a lot of prop firms that have gone out of business have done, which is we're going to sell really, really cheap prop firm accounts so we don't have to spend as much on marketing, but then we're going to have to tighten the rules and we're going to have to deny payouts. So you don't want to go down that route. So I think here, what we're going to do is we're going to spend, I think we'll actually ramp up a little bit as the prop firm grows, right? You grow through marketing efforts. So for this guy here, $100 million prop firm, we're going to spend 20% on marketing, which is $20 million, which seems like an insane amount of money. But again, you don't get to $100 million in revenue by, not posting ads, not running ads. Here, we're going to do, let's do 15%. Whoops. Let's do 15% here, and then let's do 10% on here, which again is a very, very conservative estimate. Okay, so next up we have staff fees. This is going to vary widely, but I'm on $1 million prop firm. You're not going to have a ton of staff, so I think if we leave $100,000 or it's tough to say because the owner is going to be working a lot, and then you probably have some support staff members. So even then, again, if we're on the conservative side, $75,000 for staff fees, but this is going to increase greatly once you hit $10 million. I think you're going to have a couple of directors on there, some managers on there. So I think $250,000 is a low estimate for what you'll have here. And again, we haven't had prop firm owner. The owner still hasn't paid himself. These are staff fees for people that aren't the owner. So here, that's, $250,000 here. It's tough. I mean, you're probably going to spend at least $1 million on salaries here. You're probably going to spend a lot more though. You're probably going to spend a lot more here. I would say $100 million, it's tough to estimate even if we do $2 million, okay? So, but I mean, if we go here, if we 10x this, that's going to be $2.5 million. So let's do that. I think that's going to be, a reasonable amount. Again, you might think that we're done, but we're going to keep going. Affiliate commissions, this is probably something that you haven't thought of. If we're not spending it on marketing fees, we're going to have affiliate commissions. Typical prop firm will offer, 10% commissions. So the way that we're going to calculate it is we're going to assume that roughly 10% of revenue comes from affiliate commissions, which I think is a reasonable estimate to make. So in order to do that, we have $1 million times 10% times 10% again. So that's $10,000 in affiliate commissions, $100,000 and $1 million in affiliate commissions there. Taxes, lovely taxes. I mean, we've got our marketing fees, we've got our staff fees, we've got affiliate commissions. Before we even come to taxes, we're going to do miscellaneous tech fees because again, you've got email service providers, you've got, web hosting, web development, you've got all sorts of tech fees that you probably wouldn't consider. So here we're going to put, $25,000 for the year here, and then we're just going to 10x it all along the way. Guys, running a business, not just a prop firm, running a business is very expensive. It is very expensive. There's a lot of cost that you don't think goes into it. $2.5 million. Again, that's not off, but we're going to do a little bit less. Okay. So what do we have left? Taxes. Taxes depend on where the company is incorporated, all of that good stuff. So it depends how they do the books, what they pay themselves, all sorts of things. But we are going to assume that they're going to pay a 20% corporate tax on their profit. So in order to calculate that, we're going to do our gross profit minus all of these guys. And we might not even have a profit. Times 20%, which is a loss. Okay. So let's do this one and then let's do this one. Okay. So here we are at the prop firm owner of their earnings. You could see here, guys, we started with $1 million with the small prop firm. We had our payouts, we had our broker fees, our tech fees. This is just to send out the account. But on top of that, how are you going to get to $1 million in revenue? You have marketing fees, you have staff fees, you have affiliate commissions, miscellaneous tech fees. You include all of that and you're actually running a loss. Okay, no taxes, because if the company's losing money, you're not paying money in taxes. So all of this to say, for the small prop firm, you're going to have to cut corners somewhere. And that's why this business is not for everybody. That's why so many prop firms went out of business, because you think, oh, it's going to be such an easy business. It's not. I've been running a prop firm for 3 years now. It is not an easy business. So you can see it right here. So basically the prop firm owner, their salary equals 0. Okay, you would have to cut tech fees, you'd have to cut staff fees. Maybe the staff fees are less. Maybe the prop firm owner is doing most of the stuff himself, so you pay a little bit in taxes there, which would bring us to gross profit minus marketing, minus staff, minus commissions, tech fees, taxes. The prop firm owner has made a grand total of $15,429. Very exciting for him. Okay, let's see what's going on over here. Let's do this guy. You could see if we take the gross profit, we minus the marketing fees, we minus staff fees, affiliate commissions, tech fees, and taxes, right? $145,000 in taxes. Here, you're looking at $500,000, which net profit would be about 5% net profit on a $10 million prop firm, which is not, it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about 5%. If anything here goes wrong, if the marketing does not go well, if the payouts are even higher, right? Just raising the payouts to 60%, boom, you go from making $500,000 to losing $200,000. And that's just by payouts rising a little bit, if your tech fees are higher or whatever it is. Okay, jump over to this guy, $9 million. Okay, but we are talking about a massive corporation at the point of getting to $100 million. There's a good chance that marketing fees could be even higher. Marketing fees could be 25%. That cuts it in half. Staff fees could be even higher. Staff fees could be 3.7 million. There's all sorts of variables. So again, if we look at the prop firm owner earnings relative to the initial starting revenue, it's a small percentage. It is not as easy as you probably think it is. And in terms of revenue, $100 million is probably only 3 prop firms in the world that are at this revenue level. Okay. And then the prop firm owner, the remaining earnings is $4 million. And again, there's like 3 in the world. Okay, so all that to say, I hope this gave you an interesting insight into how the prop firm model works, how the industry works, and why so many prop firms over the last couple of years have gone out of business. There's many that were just, straight up scams, but there were others that had genuine intentions, but they simply didn't know how to run a business. So if you're looking to join a prop firm that's reliable, that's been in business for a very long time, check out Lark Funding down below. Lark Funding, but running it for over 3 years now. We would love to have you. And if you have any questions about the prop firm industry, the prop firm model, whatever it is, drop them down below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.